Supercon Retro at the Miami Airport Convention Center. A lot of wrestlers, a lot of wrestling, a lot of this great stuff, and giving you a look here of Headlocked. This is the premier pro wrestling comic. So many of the wrestlers get involved with it, and the man behind it, the creator, is right here with us, Michael Kingtston. Big wrestling fan too and all. So Michael, tell us about Headlocked, and also tell us about the new project we got, Headlocked Hard Way.
So, yeah, I've been a wrestling fan and a comic book fan since I was 8 years old, and one thing I would say is that comics never did wrestling the right way. You know, there was always character books, you know, Undertaker fighting demons, and Kevin Nash's Mad Max, and those types of things. There was never any books about wrestling. So I decided to create this book called Headlocked, which is a story of a high school or a college theater major working his way through the wrestling business, and you know, it's sort of a book about wrestling per se, and I've been really lucky that all the wrestlers sort of, you know, gravitated to it. They liked it. They wanted to be a part of it.
Like Jerry The King Lawler, I'm doing this. Does a lot of your cover art.
Yeah, he does. He's our main cover artist. The interiors to the book are done by Michael Kingtston, who's a Samoan wrestler from New Zealand. So it's a story about a kid learning the art of wrestling, and then all the art's actually done by actual wrestlers.
Who are some of them that have been involved in your project?
Well, we've had AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Booker T did a piece of art for the book, Rob Van Dam, Ken Anderson, John Morrison, Frankie Kazarian, and Christopher Daniels. You know, we've got, and then for our upcoming book, we've actually assembled a ridiculous lineup. The book's on Kickstarter now. It's called Headlocked the Hard Way. We've got Ric Flair, Mick Foley, Kenny Omega, Cody Rhodes doing short stories. Jerry's doing the cover. For comic book fans, we have Ed McGuinness, Raphael Albuquerque, Andy Belanger from Southern Cross, and Image, who's also an independent wrestler at the same time, and Robbie Rodriguez. So it's a murderer's row from front to back. It's the biggest lineup we've ever had. You know, we're already funded on Kickstarter, but the Kickstarter's different for us. Like, we're not so worried about the funding goal per se. Like, we use it as a pre-order. So if you buy the book, if you bought Headlocked for me at this convention, or if you bought it at for a web store, you get 5 chapters of Headlocked. If you buy the book through our Kickstarter, you know, you get all the content by the wrestlers and stuff. So because it's the way that we need, it's the way that helps us the most. We give the people who fund the Kickstarters the best content. So it's sometimes that's tricky for people to understand, but that's really the way that helps us the most. So even though we have our funding goal, and if we get to 25,000, we're going to add a short story by Penta L0M, also known as Pentagon from Lucha Underground. So we've never had a bona fide luchador doing a story for us, so I'm really excited to sort of dip our toe into that part of the world. But it's a great book. I think if you like it, I mean, it's super authentic, kind of like an HBO style drama. So, you know, we're just trying to keep it going as long as we can. You know, we all love wrestling, we all love art, we all love comics.
That's the tie right there, yeah. Because a lot of the pro wrestlers are into that. They're into comics. They're artists themselves. They're writers. It's just a really good marriage, so to speak.
And it's a passion project for everybody. I mean, I think that a lot of times, I mean, in this day and age of sequels and reboots and focus groups and marketing or whatever, like, everybody's always being sold to, and you know, Headlocked is just something we want to do. Like, I mean, I have a regular job that pays my bills. If I could do this for 10 years and not make a dime and not lose a dime, like, I'm okay with that. I just, you know, this is something that we all love, and you know, most of the wrestlers, they contribute their time, you know, to be a part of it because they love comics too. So it's, you know, I think you can feel it when you read it. You can feel the passion that everybody has for what we're doing, and I think you'll like it if you're a wrestling fan, a comic fan, if you like cable dramas. I mean, honestly, even if you don't like, I mean, how many people watch Rocky that don't watch boxing on regular? You know what I mean? So it's the same type of deal. I think, you know, give it a shot. I think you'll find yourself entertained.
And it's so different in the sense that you have actual pro wrestlers, as you mentioned, doing the art, writing the stories. Now, do you have any social media, websites, things like that for people to check out?
Do I? Yeah, everything is Headlocked Comic. It's our website, it's our Twitter, our Facebook, our Instagram. It's all run by me, so really easy to find. If people have questions or, you know, about the project, or people have questions about breaking into comics, I try to help people out with that. You know, accessible guy. If you want to talk about wrestling, you know, we can talk about wrestling. But you know, give us a shout, look us up, you know, see what we got cooking here.
And I see something here, a little Kazarian tribute today, maybe?
Yes, yes.
With the shirt here.
Yeah. I love the fact that, like, at their heart, wrestlers are all artists, you know. And Frankie's got a comic book with Chris. He's got a metal band, and he's a wrestler. I mean, Frankie has the soul of an artist. You know what I mean? I mean, they all do. You know, some of them don't even realize it. From just, you know, driving from town to town, swapping stories, the stories they tell in the ring. You know what I mean? It's so much more than just people sort of pretending to hit each other or whatever. You know, but all these guys have that sort of artistic soul. We have Tugboat drawing in our book. You wouldn't think of a guy like Fred Ottman's size to be, you know, have pen and ink skills, but he does.
That's Tugboat and Typhoon for those
the
Shockmaster
you know,
as well.
Lince Dorado is doing a piece for our book too. You know, like I think having all of these guys have this artistic soul to them that I think is really beautiful, and you don't necessarily get that, you know, when you watch them on TV, but it's there and it comes through in all the work that we do at Headlocked.
Well, Michael, awesome stuff. And I'm just going to pan a little bit here to the awesome artwork that you have on display. Now, Michael, who are some of those that, well, I'll get some of this as well. It's really cool. Some of the artists that created some of this artwork here.
This is all Mikel. He does the art for our book, the interior. So everything we offer at the table is all created and produced by pro wrestlers. You know, I mean, aside from myself and, you know, Jill Thompson, but she's done a lot in the wrestling business. She's designed Punk's, some stuff for Punk, for Daniel Bryan's gear. You know, she's kind of got a toe in herself. So.
Yeah, Jill also, Wonder Woman, and things like that as well. She's well known.
Yeah, she's huge, and she's a big wrestling fan. And like, I love having her on the book. You know, she does our credits pages. So this is some of Jill's work right here. You know, she's a fantastic artist, and we're, you know, like, getting to work with people who I idolized growing up. I mean, in comics and in wrestling is probably the most rewarding part of the journey. And also the thing that I love the most is that we're a lot of people's first comic. You know, like I remember as a kid, like going to a drugstore and picking up Spider-Man off a spinner rack. You know what I mean? And you remember that sort of sense of wonder and whatever. You know, and that's not necessarily there anymore. You know, I mean, comics are sold in specialty shops or whatever. But
I don't know if anyone has spinner racks anymore, to be honest with you, Michael.
But I mean, we're a ton of people's gateway into comics. Guys that are wrestling fans that have never read comics, that give Headlocked a shot, and that really makes me happy to bring people to another sort of underutilized medium. You know, same as wrestling. I mean, they're sort of both dominated by sort of a singular aesthetic, but there's so many ways you can tell those stories. You know, I mean, WWE isn't the only time. You know, isn't the only way you can tell wrestling stories. I mean, Chikara is different. Japan is different. Mexico, it's different all over the world. It's different in different companies. You know what I mean? You can tell. I saw a match between Daniel Bryan and Cesaro one time on the Independents. They worked an entire match around a headlock. I mean, so you can tell different kinds of stories, and just like comics, like we don't tell a superhero book. We're doing a straight drama that you would find on like AMC or HBO. But I mean, you can do superhero, you can do crime stories. Comics are really at the vanguard of original storytelling these days. You know, with everything being like licensed or sequels or reboots. You know, comics is where like original content is coming from. And, so it really makes me happy that I'm bringing people to comics, and I'm bringing comics people to wrestling that have never watched wrestling before, but they've read Headlocked and they're like, this is so cool. I've only thought of wrestling this way, and I had no idea there was so much more to it. So that's the kind of, we're sort of, you know, we got a toe in each pool, and you know, we're trying to bring people, you know, from side to side and getting everybody, you know, show everybody why we love these two art forms.
Well, this is Michael Kingtston, and he mentioned Cesaro and Daniel Bryan working a great match off of a headlock. So what better way to close with Headlocked? Thank you, Michael.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.